This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. The Four Seasons is back for season 2, starring Tina Fey, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, Marco Calvani, Carrie Kenny Silver, and Erica Henningsen. After a difficult year, your favorite group of friends continues their tradition of vacationing together, now with a baby in tow. From the Jersey Shore to upstate New York and Italy, their getaways are sure to take unexpected turns where comedy ensues. Watch The Four Seasons May 28th only on Netflix.
Breaking news.
And tonight on this Memorial Day, and I hope all of you honored those who gave all today, because that is what Memorial Day is all about. Well, just a little bit ago, word coming down that the United States has launched self-defensive strikes on a couple targets tied to Iran. Some mine-laying boats in southern Iran. They were actually laying mines in the strait. Remember, that's a no-no. Of course, we're in the middle of potential ceasefire talks and also negotiations to end the war. And definitely you shouldn't be laying mines during this time. They were IRGC boats, and CENTCOM said those boats are now eliminated. We took them out. They're gone. Also, there are also a number of missile sites in Iran where Iran's primary naval station is located. It's a site where they were apparently launching missiles at U.S. warplanes. That's a problem, too. And they took out those missile sites at the naval station there in Iran, the United States, taking action, saying we are not messing around. Again, both of them violations of a tentative extension of the ceasefire agreement. And this after the weekend of Donald Trump spending all his weekend dealing with Iran. He missed his son's wedding. His son's wedding took place this weekend. He missed it because he was hoping to have a resolution with Iran. So it shows how dedicated he is to this mission. And boy, I hope that we get a good deal. President Donald Trump says it's either going to be a good deal or no deal, that there's not going to be any halfway deal that is not going to be good for the United States and also for the world, for world freedom. And here is President Trump, because today he spoke at Arlington National Cemetery. And, you know, watching it today, I watch it every year. It's always so incredibly moving to watch his speech and to watch any president's speech, but especially right now, given what's happening with Iran and the fact that the stakes could not be higher. And he's speaking to Gold Star families who lost loved ones because of battle, different wars. He addressed and recognized a World War II hero. He recognized a Vietnam hero. It was very, very powerful. And then also, at one point, he also recognized a hero, someone who lost their life in Operation Epic Fury, one of the 13 who've lost their lives so far with this major, as he calls it, journey into Iran. But here is President Trump just a little bit ago talking about the greatness and the might of America, and boy, is it on full display today.
From 1776 to 2026, America has always stood as a great and moral cause. Our warriors are no mere mercenaries. They are guardian angels who stride across the battlefields of history and stand watch over the highest and most beautiful plains the human spirit has ever seen, holding the line between liberty and tyranny, between civilization and barbarism, between good and evil. Wherever the American soldier walks, wherever he fights, wherever he fails, and wherever he falls, he does it for the destiny of a nation like no other. There's never been anybody like you. And for the fate of freedom on this earth, we salute you like nobody has ever been saluted before. By their deaths, those who have gone before us in battle have redeemed the promise of our founding for each future generation. They've not just made the ultimate sacrifice, they've offered the ultimate proof that we Americans do indeed love liberty. We do cherish the self-government given to us by our forefathers. We do believe with all our souls in the mission that God has given to America. And we do intend with all our strength and heart to hold high the torch our heroes handed to us, and we will never, ever let it fall.
You know, President Trump, you could tell he just loves the U.S. military. He's always been so deeply engaged. There's such a love affair back at him because today the reception was so warm. When they heard that President Trump was there, they all stood up, they applauded. He has such a beautiful connection with the military and understands their sacrifice and understands the warrior spirit. And then today, he also understood the ultimate sacrifice, talking about Ariana. She is one of the 13 who died in Operation Epic Fury. Her family was present, and President Trump said, "We will never forget her and the others."
In 2 wars recently, we've lost a total of 13 service members. In Venezuela, which was a complete and total victory, where we're working very closely with the Venezuela government right now. We took that over in one day, and we lost no one. In Operation Epic Fury, we lost 13 wonderful souls, wonderful special people. These incredible men and women gave their lives to ensure that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror will never have a nuclear weapon. Oh, and they won't. They will never have a nuclear weapon. I'm sure you know that. One of them was Major Ariana Savino Lindsay, and we're joined by her great family, Omira, Darren, Zevin, and Wick. Stand up, please. Please. There he is. There he is. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vic. Thank you very much. To all of you, Ariana's selfless gift will not be in vain. Our debt to you is everlasting, and it's always going to end in victory. We're having victories all over the place, more than we've had in many, many decades.
President Trump, you could tell, has such a profound love and profound respect for our military. And then you got to juxtapose that with today. First of all, a whole bunch of stuff. You got Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry. We call him Fry Guy. He came out and on a Twitter post, he posted about the 6-year anniversary of George Floyd's death. Today is Memorial Day. This is not the day to talk about George Floyd's death. And the way he describes it was just really utterly reprehensible. Today we remember George Floyd, who was murdered by a former Minneapolis police officer 6 years ago. That moment changed our city forever. What about the men and women who sacrificed their lives for freedom for America and the world? That should be your Twitter post. I'm telling you, some of these people are so cuckoo. And no wonder things are so out of control in Minneapolis. You got Jacob Fry, and let's not forget you also still have the governor there, Tim Walz, who just is all over the place too with his rhetoric. It's like he doesn't understand the meaning of today, and at least certainly Jacob Fry, I can say, certainly doesn't. With that post, everybody was bashing him, saying how completely inappropriate it was. People coming out and saying they thought it was a parody. But no, it's the real deal. It was indeed Jacob Fry putting that out on Memorial Day, at a day that we commemorate our heroes who gave all. What do you guys make of that? 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Are they trying to erase Memorial Day too? I mean, I find that I was offended. I was shocked. I was offended. And I thought, how grotesque from a mayor who essentially, along with Tim Walz, remember it was Tim Walz's wife who loved the smell of the city burning, thought it was romantic during the, quote, summer of love. And then you got him here on Memorial Day, one of the most solemn days, I think, in the calendar. And you cannot even give honor to our men and women. Your focus has to be on George Floyd. That is shocking. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And speaking of shocking, I'm telling you, Graham Plattner, this guy, I cannot believe he is running for the U.S. Senate in Maine. He keeps making these reprehensible comments, whether he is bashing Purple Heart recipient Ted Daniels. Remember saying, oh, he should have died because he was such a bad shot. And the only reason he's alive is the Taliban were bad shots. And then you've got Chris Kyle, who was a true American hero, along with Ted Daniels. I mean, the fact Ted Daniels survived that is utterly incredible. And he did deserve a Purple Heart and even more for what he went through. And then you got Chris Kyle, one of the greatest snipers ever, featured in American Sniper. And you got Graham Plattner bashing him. You got him bashing women who were raped, saying, oh, well, they need to act like adults and basically buck up. And then he's got his Nazi tattoo. And this guy is still running. I was watching because the media, not everybody in the media, but Fox News was chasing him at one point this weekend and saying, you know, Graham Plattner, what do you have to say for yourself? I mean, do you regret making these comments about Ted Daniels and Chris Kyle? And we're going to play those comments in a little bit. No, I don't have any regrets. You know, I went to battle, and he did. I'm never going to, criticize somebody's military service. I went to battle, and, you know, a lot of us, you know, had different issues. I went to battle. See ya. Get out of my face, essentially. No regrets, no remorse, no apology. That to me is utterly despicable. And so we have Taya Kyle, who is the wife of Chris Kyle, came out this weekend, and Ted Daniels did too. And I'm going to play their comments in a little bit because understandably they are furious, and all Americans should be furious. And I can't believe that this guy is not disqualified for running in the United States Senate. So over the weekend, not only is he not disqualified, they had a couple of big rallies for him. You had Elizabeth Warren cheering him on. You had a whole bunch of other folks. And then you had Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders came out and said he couldn't wait to endorse Graham Plattner. What is wrong with the Democratic Party that they are willing to have somebody who is clearly anti-Semitic, anti-woman, anti-military, anti a lot of things? I'm not sure what he's for. I know what he's against because of his own words. And the fact that Bernie Sanders is unrepentant, just like Graham Plattner, speaks volumes of the Democratic Party, guys. That to me is just shocking. And it really is just so reprehensible. And here it is Memorial Day, and you got a guy who is bashing the military. And in fact, the Chris Kyle comments, he just made them in 2024. It wasn't like he was a toddler in diapers and regrets making the comment. Doesn't seem like he has any regret at all. In fact, it seemed like he was doubling down this weekend. And then you got Bernie Sanders out there saying, oh, this guy is the best thing since sliced bread. Our wonderful guy, Graham Plattner. Here he is at one of his Fighting the Oligarchy tours. He said that Graham's values are like his values, going up and tax the rich. Listen to this.
I introduced recently legislation to establish a 5% annual wealth tax on the 938 billionaires in America who collectively are worth more than $8 trillion. And I want to, just to give you an example of how insane the level of inequality is in America, I want to tell you what this legislation would accomplish. This is a 5% tax on fewer than 1,000 billionaires on their wealth. This is what it would do. If this legislation were to pass, in its first year, it would provide every man, woman, and child in a household less than 150,000, it's the vast majority of households, with a $3,000 direct payment. Got it?
And that's all that is with Bernie Sanders. We want to give more, he says, to, in his mind, lower income, or in that case, middle to above income, when you talk about 150,000, especially in the state of Maine, that goes pretty far. But his whole thing is tax the rich. You heard how many billionaires he said are in this country, and he says, I want to tax them up the wazoo. And good old my friend Graham Plattner is just the guy to do it. I don't care that he's got a Nazi tattoo. I don't care what he says about women being raped. I don't care what he says about military heroes. As long as he goes with my agenda of tax the rich, that's all that matters. What a scary place the Democratic Party is in, and what a scary place that is for America. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222, and we'll take your calls when we come back right here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The road to the NBA Finals ends here, with star guard setting the tone. The Cavs eye another upset, while the Knicks carry the dreams of all of New York. The Eastern Conference Finals continue on ESPN and ABC.
Best gift ever!
A Lego set is a gift that always clicks. And clicks.
Woo! Next level!
And clicks. For kids who love gaming, choose a Lego set. The gift that always clicks.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Sustain Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Sustain Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Viviana in Brooklyn on line 3. Viviana, great to have you here on Memorial Day.
Same here, same here. Blessed Memorial Day to you and all of the listeners, because we are people that decided to want to hear the truth and want to act on it. I wanted to highlight what President Trump did for the nation on May the 17th and how it connects to Memorial Day.
Okay, yep, go ahead real quick, Viviana.
Yeah, I'm trying. On the 17th of May, he had a group of people that spoke to the nation and said, we are one nation under God.
Oh, yeah. Viviana, do me a favor. I want to keep you because I know where you're going. It's an important point. We got a hard break, but please stay with us. We got a commercial break, and then we'll come back to you in just a few moments.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Andover, Massachusetts, where an investigation is underway after a teenager was rescued from a pond while a middle school student was swimming with a group of friends around 4:30, and police arrived on the scene at the shoreline. They saw a group of teens on the opposite shoreline yelling to the officers, pointing to where the first juvenile had suddenly gone under. The officers and first responders quickly rushed into the water with paddle boards and flotation devices. They located the unresponsive teen about 25 feet from shore, submerged in about 12 feet of water. He was taken to the shoreline, given life-saving measures, then transported to a local hospital. People familiar with that area said there was a lot of stuff that people could get trapped under, such as weeds, rocks, a lot of debris. Thankfully, the teenage boy that was rescued at that pond is now recovering at the hospital and is expected to make a full recovery, thanks to our men and women in blue. And some big news just breaking in the world of sports.
Breaking news.
Just in, the New York Knicks, Pete's favorite. Pete, right? You got to cheer that on. All right, come on, Pete. There he is. I see him. He's wearing his New York Knicks jacket. It doesn't get any more than that. Well, the New York Knicks are now going on to the NBA Finals. It's the first time since 1999. They just won their fourth game of the Eastern Conference Finals in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. The score was 130-93, so I guess that's called a trouncing pretty much in the game of basketball. I love basketball. So the Knicks win big tonight. They're going to go on to the finals. It's unclear who they're going to play. Maybe the San Antonio Spurs or the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll see what happens, but the NBA Finals are June 3rd. And the New York Knicks are punching their big ticket. Bravo to the New York Knicks. This is a biggie. And again, it's the first time they have been in the NBA Finals since 1999. So that is awesome news tonight. And let's go back to your calls to guys. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Viviana on line 3. Viviana, thanks so much. Sorry to keep you holding, but at least we got some good Knicks news in the meantime.
I'm happy for them. I used to be a Knicks fan, and just it went so far in another direction, so I'm happy for them. Let me say first, I feel so honored to speak to you and to be able to speak to many people. What President Trump did was like those people that were saying, he's drowning, he's drowning. President Trump knew that America was going over the precipice and sacrificing his life and everything else. He said, we have to rededicate this nation to God. And knowing that God is the one that started our nation, Barack Obama has no say. We are a Christian nation, and there are proofs in our original documents. So when he did that, it shifted the nation on May 17th. There's been more camaraderie. There's been more hope. There has been dancing. I was dancing at the Memorial Day parade. They were singing, like God bless America, and I was just waving my flags and dancing. So many people speaking to each other and having hope. That's why the Bernie Sanders, the Barack Obamas, this, to me, he's a cretin. The one that you were talking about with starts with the P.
Oh, yeah, Graham Plattner.
Yes. That is why they want to promote the negative, the opposite, trying to entrap our people of our nation, the citizens of our nation, to vote for them because they want to crush what God wants to do through President Trump.
Yeah, and by the way, he has been such a supporter of people of faith, Viviana. There's no doubt. It really is beautiful, and you could see the connection that he has with those of faith when he does the prayer breakfast, when he has the faith events there at the White House. And I remember when he made that comment, it was such a powerful, and he was surrounded by many different faith leaders at the time too, which is really beautiful. And you could see that he turns to faith. The other thing too, Vivian, is I feel like after what happened to him at Butler, which was such a horrific moment, and it narrowly missed him. And he has said publicly, if not for the grace of God, he would not be here. I think it just reaffirmed his faith too, because he really feels that he is on a mission from God, and that he's here to really make a difference. And that's why he survived, that God's sort of protecting him. And boy, do we need God to protect him, because it is a mess out there. And there was another attempted shooting, by the way, over the weekend too. But I think he is even more focused on his faith, turned inward on his faith. And it's something that he's talked about publicly and privately. And that's a very powerful message. And I also think he firmly believes, in the American military and the message of America, which is why it's so powerful that he's the one here during this 250th anniversary of our country. It's amazing because, of course, you think about it, had he run 2 consecutive terms, he would not be here during this moment. It would be somebody else. And the fact that it's him doing it, I think, just really is powerful because he is so patriotic and so loves this country and feels it so spiritually, too. Viviana, thank you. Really beautiful message. Great to have you here today. Let's go to Jack in upstate New York, line 4. Jack, your thoughts.
Rita, the bottom line is I'm going to say positive and then the reality. Let's get Hollywood 360 old-time radio shows on ABC. Now, the reality. American veteran in a wheelchair is being evicted from an apartment of 4 years the day after mourning American war and peacetime dead. Did you ever hear of a two-legged rat? Well, that's Morty Freund, the slum owner. He arranged it so the marshals will force a disabled American veteran with heart condition and beat cancer recently in a wheelchair to be evicted tomorrow, the day after American Memorial Day.
Wait, hold on a second. So explain to me, why is he evicting this brave veteran?
He should have contacted the veteran and sent a letter, are you going to stay or leave? The veteran would have contacted him and said, I'm going to leave on June 8th. Instead, he had his ambulance chaser sue the veteran. It would have gone to trial on April 13th. He had no choice but to agree to leave a certain date. And he tried to appeal it just until June 18th. But they're going to force him out under threat of arrest, and he has no criminal history. He has a history of heart condition, sarcoma cancer. He was a 9/11 in a wheelchair. And that's the system stinks.
Yeah, boy, does that ever. So you got to keep us posted on that, because that clearly, from what you're saying, sounds like a raw deal and sounds horrible. And, of course, that's the last thing we want to see happen to any great American veteran. So please keep us posted. That's just terrible, really despicable. Let us know. I'm glad you're speaking out on his behalf. Thank you very much. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And I'm going to continue with your calls, guys, in a moment. I just want to play a little bit from this Graham Plattner, because, boy, is he just riling everybody up, including me, that's for sure. When I hear what this guy had to say, it's so disgusting. He, again, is running for the U.S. Senate in Maine. They've got a primary coming up, but he essentially doesn't really have a very difficult primary. Janet Mills, who is the governor there in Maine, dropped out because she couldn't raise the money. Can you imagine? The incumbent couldn't raise the money, and then you have this guy who seems to be raising a lot of money. One of his campaign, his sort of key person, by the way, happens to be the same guy who was helping Zoran Mondani, Morris Katz. He's sort of the brainchild of Zoran Mondani. And obviously you saw how that worked out. People said, oh, no, you're never going to elect somebody like that, a Democratic socialist who says blank, blank, and blank. Well, he is now the mayor of New York. So I say this to you guys, don't count out crazy Graham Plattner. I'm not saying that's what should happen, but you never know what is going to happen. That's the bottom line. We got to be realistic when there's a big machine behind him. And then you got Bernie Sanders out there, and you got AOC, and you got Elizabeth Warren, and all these people coddling this guy despite his disgusting, gross comments. So in the middle of all this, here is one of Graham Plattner's comments. You got to hear this. This is what he had to say about great American hero Chris Kyle. And he made this comment, again, just 2 years ago. So this isn't like he had amnesia or he was like a child and didn't know what he was saying. I don't buy any of that anyway. I don't buy it when I heard Zoran Mondani's wife said, I was a teenager. Well, a lot of the things that she did and said that we're talking about were reprehensible when she was in her 20s. She's still in her 20s. So it wasn't that long ago. And then you got Graham Plattner here, and he made these comments in 2024. So I'm sorry, I don't buy any of it. But here is Graham Plattner with his disgusting, I think, jealous comment about great American hero Chris Kyle, who was profiled, an American sniper who had legendary prowess for taking out the bad guys with his great sniper and great marksmanship. And this guy, Graham Plattner, smearing an American hero. Take a listen.
I didn't know who these guys were. I left that deployment and continued on with my life. Did a few more deployments, both in the Marine Corps and the Army. It wasn't until somebody told me to read Chris Kyle's book. His stories about how many people he was shooting certainly tracked with the behavior I witnessed and people I knew witnessed down at the Gov Center, which is it's relatively easy to get high numbers like that if you're a little less discriminating. You're fire than, say, a more professional unit would be. So that's when I kind of learned about Task Unit Bruiser, about Chris Kyle. And then it wasn't until many years later that if someone recommended like Jocko's podcast or book to me, and I put that together and was like, you've got to be kidding me. I almost felt like there was like a weird practical joke being played on me by the war, that like all these years later, I'm like having to like, people are telling me like, oh, look how great this guy is. These guys are amazing heroes, this whole incredible thing, the paragon of leadership. And I'm just sitting there like, am I living in like an alternate reality? Because this is the exact opposite of my experience.
What a shocking, disgusting comment. And for the first time, we're hearing from Taya Kyle. She is the wife of Chris Kyle, and just a great American hero. She spoke out a lot right after his death. And this is what she had to say about Graham Plattner and his smears.
He's also given some inconsistent statements about his own military service. He said in 2020 on Reddit that he joined the Marines because he, quote, wanted to have an adventure and kill some people. More recently, he blamed Susan Collins for sending him to Iraq via a vote. Memorial Day weekend is already difficult for Gold Star families. When you see commentary like this from a public figure, someone who wants to go into elected office, does it make it harder?
Yeah, and you know what? I think my family and I, my kids and I, we'd love to get on here and say it doesn't matter when people say things like that, and we're over it, and we understand that it's just these cheap political tricks. But the truth is, it does hurt. My kids are 21 and 20. They're grown adults, and I wish I could tell you that it doesn't hurt, but it does. And something like this, where it's so obvious to us that he didn't know him, that he's making things up, that it is the polar opposite of what Chris said and did, it cheapens it. I can't imagine anyone voting for somebody like that. I feel like it's so obvious, and you would hope that people do their research and see the things that he said online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how could anybody vote for somebody like that? I agree with Taya Kyle. What a class act, given the smears from this disgusting guy about her late husband, who was a great, great military hero. And then you also have Graham Plattner also making comments about Ted Daniels. Now, Daniels was in the middle of a firefight for his life with Taliban fighters in 2012. It ended with Daniels being shot 4 times by Taliban, who were firing rapidly at him. He earned a Purple Heart for his injuries. And what does Graham Plattner do? He puts a Reddit post up in 2019, 7 years after the incident, and he essentially said that the U.S. soldier, maybe should have gotten killed, that he's lucky he's alive. He didn't deserve to live, he says, the dumb mother blank. At least his stupidity and fat blank wheezing are available for all future infantrymen to witness and hold in contempt. He further said, this is Graham Plattner running for Senate right now in Maine. Further poor marksmanship on the Taliban's part is the only reason this mouth breather made it home. What a disgusting human being. The guy got shot 4 times. He's in a firefight, the likes that most human beings never would ever witness. The guy is a true American hero, and this guy is blasting him. He is a military veteran, by the way. He's a Marine, Graham Plattner. Not any American should know what a heroic action that is, but certainly someone who's been in the fight. I would never question Graham Plattner's military service, and how dare he go after Ted Daniels like this. So Ted Daniels this weekend said he had had enough. He had had enough. And here is combat that Ted Daniels responding to this, I don't even know what to say, this joke of a candidate.
When veterans come back there's a network of other veterans that we lean on and that we gravitate to support. And I do work with nonprofits for wounded veterans, and just to have somebody like this involved in our culture in the first place, it's embarrassing for the entire military and veteran community.
And then he got fired up and he was asked, what would you like to say to Graham Plattner?
I don't get offended. I've been attacked by the left for years. And, this is coming from a man whose party has no idea what a woman is, yet he was online and he saw a video of a man and had an emotional meltdown like a 13-year-old girl who just got dumped by her boyfriend. And honestly, that's not the type of leadership that we need in our government. People like this don't say stuff like this to my face. It's online. And that right there tells me, Graham, you're a coward. But, enough said, you're a coward.
That's a very nice thing. I don't think I'd be that kind if I were Ted Daniels. Coward is the least of what I would call him. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And I'll take your calls, everybody, when we come back.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the Runway Approved Vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or Really Admired Vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the Recreational Activity Vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
Daniels, who is a Purple Heart recipient who was shot at 4 times by the Taliban, and yet the candidate for Maine is mocking him. Really disgusting. And in the middle of all this, you got AOC, who seems to be inching closer and closer, get this, to running for president. Some of the things she's doing are showing that she's kind of planning on making that move. She's got her buddy Mamdani in New York. Maybe she's hoping she's going to get her pal Graham Plattner in Maine. You got a couple other loonies across the country. And then maybe she thinks, okay, it's my turn. Oh, boy. Can you imagine that one? Boy, will that make the race interesting. Of course, you got the midterms first, and that may also play a role in her decision or not. Let's go to Al in Yonkers, line 3. Al, your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, hi, Rita. Rita, I wanted to say in the candidate Plattner, Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, he wasn't his choice. Senator Schumer wanted the Governor Mills, but she never caught fire. She's older, and her numbers were awful. As you know, she couldn't raise the monetary funds to continue. So that's the problem with Plattner. As we talked about in the past, I believe Senator Collins, the independent-minded senator, Republican, I think she's the only in the whole New England delegation that's Republican, even congressional. Is that correct?
It is. She is literally the only Republican in New England. Can you imagine that's elected, to House or to Senate? That speaks volumes. And she's a moderate, Al. I mean, she's very much a moderate. She's an incumbent. She's beloved there in Maine. Let's hope she beats this Nazi-wearing Graham Plattner.